Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, I'm Emmy.
Hi, I'm Logan.
Hi, I'm Sean.
We are CPFA alumni, and this is Winging It.
My day job, I teach CPR as well as medication administration. I also teach kids theater. I direct and choreograph, and I'm always doing something in theater.
Yeah, I am a ballet teacher. I teach very little children ballet, and I teach slightly older children musical theater, tap and jazz stuff at the Petit Pas Ballet School. And I also do a little bit of choreographing for youth theater and local high schools, currently working with Ruston High School on their show the past few years. And so, yeah, lots of dancing all around.
Fun fact, I've been choreographed by Hannah at CPFA.
Yes, that's true. Back when we were doing shows online for a year.
Yes.
There was a play, and the lovely Brigitte Rotman was directing it. And she asked me to choreograph a couple pieces that were in that play. Oh my gosh.
Small world.
Yeah. Which also makes me feel really old.
Sorry. No, you didn't.
I've
never
so
met
little.
Hannah before.
You were so little in
Who's
that.
Hannah?
Yeah. Oh, I love Brigitte so much.
Yeah,
and
I love Brigitte.
Queen.
Yeah.
I love Brigitte.
Mama Rotman.
Mama Rotman.
Mama
From
Rotman.
being like a mentor and teacher when we were all kids to being like a very dear friend now.
Yeah.
And also still a mentor.
Yeah, in every
Yes.
way. I am currently a double major in dance and theater with a concentration in musical theater at Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey. I do theater as much as I can, as you can tell by my chosen major, and I work at Whole Foods on the side.
Yes.
Nice.
I had a little bit of a different track than these lovely folks here. Upon graduating from PALCS, I joined the Marine Corps. I did 5 years there. Just got out this year, actually. And now I am a student at Westchester University studying musical theater.
We all just did Into the Woods at Salt. That is where I was reintroduced to Hannah, officially met Logan, and actually for the first time met Sean. So that is why we are all sitting at this table.
Yeah.
It was cool because we had like we all come from CPFA, and like I've known I actually have not known of you before I met you, if I'm actually being so honest.
It's really cool. Not even on the alumni wall. Wow.
Oh, I love the alumni wall. But yeah, it's cool because like we like found so many like different jokes between our different generations, but also some things that have like run through the generations and all the years, which is cool.
Yeah, because a lot of the teachers there are still there from you, like, so having those like shared experiences and was really cool to talk about, like, oh, how is it different now versus, and that's mostly like us too, Sean, because I think that's the biggest gap of time between any of us. But just being like, oh, what are things like now that are different versus when we went there, and then a lot of the things that are the same that we can all like bond over.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
When Emmy graduated, you have to memorize every single person that graduated before his name.
Oh my gosh. That's actually like not untrue though, but I will say the yearbooks at that point in time, they used to have senior pages where it was just like, that's so cool, because I remember that is how I like learned a lot of the time what everybody was like going off to do after CPFA, because even though we had senior send-off was always like an emotional time for everybody to reflect on their experience at CPFA. So for us to like learn about what people are doing after they leave high school, we pretty much just followed the yearbook. And I still go back and I still look at that, especially because of what my senior quote was. I quite often
share.
So I was obsessed with Beyonce, so it was I sneezed on the beat and the beat got sicker.
Anything for you.
Anything for you, Beyonce.
Anything for you,
Bring the beat in.
And I've always said that.
Yes, absolutely.
SALT Performing Arts is a theater company in Chester Springs. They've been around a while, a little over a decade. They definitely prioritize like the spectacle and bringing like big productions and production value that you don't normally see at other community theaters, which is really cool.
Check out Salt 2.0 with that video wall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of upgrades lately, like sort of as like a decade anniversary thing that they're really like upping the stakes. But I will say their main like mission statement though is very community based and to build a community is the priority, and the vehicle through which they do that is excellent theater. That's what our artistic director Lauren McComas always says. But the main goal and the first priority is community, and a excellent byproduct of that is the theater that gets put on.
Absolutely. Hannah has been with SALT probably the longest. I just started this year with Sweeney. Like I said, I did work for Stage Light in the past, but Sweeney was my first show.
Yeah, I joined SALT in their second season with The Little Mermaid that they did back in 2016. So that was while I was a student at CPFA. And I've done, I want to say, at least one show every year since then. So I think at this point I've done like 14 or 15 shows there, but I'm kind of losing track. Yeah, wow. Yeah, but it's lots of fun, and I love the people that I found there, so it's always fun to go back and do another show with some of my best friends.
Yeah.
This is my first SALT main stage. I did a Stage Light production of Grease with Hannah also choreographed. Yeah, and then I did a fundraiser for SALT 2.0, Echoes Across Eras, A Glimpse Behind the Curtain.
2018 was my first SALT show. It was Newsies. And then I've done, I want to say, I'm in Anastasia right now, and that's my 7th SALT show, I think.
Nice.
So yeah, been doing it for a little while now.
Newsies was your first?
Mm-hmm.
That was before Secret Garden?
Yep.
Oh, I had that mixed up in my head.
Yeah, it went Newsies, Les Mis, Secret Garden.
Nice.
We're learning so much about each other.
Yes. I had known about SALT for a while. Now, when I went to college in New York. So I only found out about SALT through my friends who still went to CPFA that went and did shows there. But when I moved back in the area, because I graduated college during the pandemic, I was more prioritizing like making sure that I had stable income and the whole 9 yards with that. So becoming a teaching artist and maintaining an income through that was how I used my musical theater degree, and then in turn continued to do things with theater in general, and doing that through Stage Light and things like that. But I wasn't sure what I wanted my like breakthrough show to be with SALT. I knew there would be one eventually that I would wind up auditioning for because so many people that I knew were there and had great experiences. But then bucket list show has always been Sweeney Todd. I wanted to be some of those rats in those streets. So I was like, this is it. This is what I'm auditioning for. And haven't looked back since.
Yeah, after PALCS and CPFA, I did not go to college. I applied to a whole bunch, and I had my list of acceptances and rejections and was looking at them. And at the time, nothing was really making sense for me, so I decided not to go. And my first job right out of high school was at Hillendale Elementary School. I was a personal care assistant, so I had a student with a disability that I would go to school with and just make sure that they had everything they needed to succeed. Because I knew I loved working with kids. I had experience working with people with disabilities because I was a ski instructor for people with disabilities since I was 14. And so that job sort of like fit all of my interests and skills except for performing.
Sure.
But then doing a lot of shows at SALT was great because I needed that artistic outlet. But it was also very exhausting because the job that I had was very like emotionally, like I had to be so invested in that job. And then leaving straight from there, driving to SALT, having a rehearsal till 10 or 11 p.m., and then doing it all again the next day was a lot. But I was like, it's worth it. I do love this job that I have. And I need performing to like sort of, even though it's exhausting, it does give me energy to be performing and doing something that I love.